Welcome back. So on behalf of some people who might look at this mixed member proportional system.
That's right.
And have a few things that concern them. Some might argue that the last thing we need in Queen's Park is more politicians. If you watch the debates, they sometimes get, you might say they get a little bit unwieldy sometimes. If everybody wants to have a say, these decisions can sometimes take a long time to be made. What would you have to say to that concern?
Well, one of the downfalls to our system is it provides great policy shifts. You have the NDPs in the early 90s into the Conservatives and then into the Liberals. There's been huge policy shifts throughout the years. And what that does is it really pins the parties against each other, which a lot of us felt when we were looking into it has provided the kind of charades that you kind of see in government right now. We've pinned all the parties against each other.
And it becomes about that instead of the issue, I guess.
That's right. And with this system, what you would see is you would see more coalition-style governments. You likely wouldn't see majority governments like we currently get. If you look on the federal scale, we've been seeing minority governments, which are, they've been functioning quite well over the last few years. And a coalition government means that the party who receives the most number of votes will try and form a coalition with another party to get them over that 50% mark, right, so that they can form a government. Because currently there's not really a party that gets over 50% of the votes. Liberals won the last election with 43%,
right,
so they would be looking for a partner to take them in over the 50% mark in our system. So it would form a coalition-style government, which would mean that politicians would have to learn how to work together better than what they currently do. And to tell you the truth, a lot of what you see on TV right now in that 1 hour it's a lot of acting and it's a lot of a big show. Mm-hmm. And they do get stuff done. But what you'll see with a coalition-style government is you'll see perhaps slower steps forward, but you will see fewer steps back. Our current policy shifts create that big controversy. With our system, you'll see a more smooth government style, and that's what a lot of people are looking for.
We always hope for the best, but the past has shown that at times when it comes to politics, selfishness and greed, like in any walk of life, can play a role, and then the public can be duped sometimes. With the lists of candidates chosen by their fellow party members, there might be some concern that people be rewarded for their support, rewarded for their efforts, their commitment to a campaign that's coming around the corner, rather than selected just because of their integrity or their knowledge or the area of expertise. What would you tell people with that concern?
With those lists, the way that they'll work is they will be scrutinized by the media. And no party is going to really want to step out on a limb and bring in a candidate who's going to be that controversial, because it'll be a negative for them in their campaign. What you'll see likely with these lists is you will likely see a more equal gender balance, and you'll see a more equal demographic balance. So you'll see a better representation of our population on that list. Candidates, those lists, so the parties are going to want to accommodate as many people's interests as possible. So those lists are going to be, parties are vote maximizing machines. You will see these lists be more diverse than the current politicians that we see in Queen's Park.
This system would see a reduction in local ridings. Already in the north, some people feel that they're vastly outnumbered by ridings because of population in the south, and sometimes neglected. Is there a reason to be concerned that you're losing more local representatives?
There's really two ways to look at it. The way that I feel is if you look at it just strictly in a representation type view, I feel that it would centralize power. You would see the urban areas having more control over what our vote kind of turns out. I think you would see that people argue, both ways. Now, what it could be, it could be a positive if you live up here and you feel like the Green Party, for instance, would really represent your needs for being a northern or central area or a rural area. So if there's a party that specifically suits your needs that currently doesn't get seats but you're interested in and you want to support them, it would be a positive. But if your current party is somebody like the Conservatives or whatever, then if the vote is getting more centralized because these urban areas, they do outweigh people in the north, and rural communities really only account for 3% of the actual population.
Right.
They actually get really good representation right now, and in a lot of respects, when you look at that representation by population, they're overrepresented, and that could be adjusted in this sort of a system.
With the lists, what if areas in the GTA have both a local candidate and a list candidate? What if most of your list members come from the GTA, for example, while fewer are selected from the north? Won't the north be even more forgotten when it comes to those discussions on the floor and whose voices are louder?
Well, what we would hope to see would be a fair representation on those lists. Again, those lists are supposed to be open and transparent when they go through their nomination processes. So what you would hope to see would be that equal representation on the list, and hopefully the parties will include candidate on the list side from the north, but there's no guarantee in that.
So you have to hope somewhat that your urban voters will want a fair list that represents the whole province just as much as northern and rural voters will.
Almost. There's arguments both ways.
Well, we'll come right back and we'll talk about voters' reactions, because I know you've had at least one public meeting since this proposal came out.
Yep.
We'll see what you've heard from people in just a moment.
Thanks.